Hi, this is Alex, your teen librarian, and for this project we are going to be making pins. So these are just made with glue gun, actually, to protect your picture inside, and then with a safety pin on the back to attach it to whatever clothing or your bag or purse or wherever you want to put it. So for this project we are going to need a glue gun with extra glue sticks. They take about an inch or so of glue depending on the size of your picture. We are also going to need parchment paper. So specifically parchment. Do not use wax paper. It will melt with the heat and it will ruin your project. It will ruin whatever you're working on. It's very bad, very messy. Don't do it. Just parchment paper. We are also going to need a safety pin for the back of your pin. If you have those pin backs that have the flat side that are specifically made for pins, those are wonderful. Use them, please. I don't have those, so I'm just using a safety pin. We will also need a rolling pin. This is not a rolling pin, this is a Sharpie. Anything round and smooth will work to roll your glue flat. I've just been using a Sharpie. You can use a mechanical pencil. If you have a little rolling pin, if you have a full-size rolling pin, any of that will work too. Last thing you'll need is a picture. So this one I have drawn onto just a piece of white paper. It is done with colored pencils. If you're worried that your colored pencils will melt with the heat because of the wax content, this does not melt. I tested it. These ones are high wax content and they stay perfectly fine. Or you can also just print out any picture that you want. I have a couple of pictures here that I've done that are screenshots. I have a manga panel, video game box, just a couple pictures. Anything that you have that you want to turn into a pin. This is also a great project if you have any less popular anime that you are into that are impossible to find merchandise for. So, and then the last thing is, if you will notice over here we have our little guest for our Test Your Character Knowledge challenge. So, it's my favorite rugby team captain over there, just supervising to make sure I don't burn myself. So, the first thing that we are going to do is take one sheet of our parchment paper, and we need to make sure to get enough glue onto this parchment paper that can cover the entire back of your picture. You only get one chance because once it hardens, it's pretty much done. You can't add more or it will make it blurry. It will just mess up the whole thing. So make sure you have enough glue in your glue gun to actually make a big enough area. And you just want to squeeze it out and just lay it on thick. And you have to work semi-quickly. I just like to make circles around and then quickly put your picture on top, lay your second piece of parchment on top, and roll over the top of the whole thing to just spread the glue into a nice, flat, even layer. And you will see the glue gun, the hot glue, come out the sides. So once you have it out all of the sides, just give it a few moments to completely cool. And once that's done, when you peel it off, you now have, still a little bit sticky for a few minutes until it cools off, and that will give you the back of your pin. And as you can see, it's nice and flat and even, completely even, coating the back of the pin. So now we need to cover the front of the pin. So this is where, again, it is very important to make sure you get complete coverage. What I like to do is just kind of outline the shape of whatever I'm making and then fill it in a little bit. So we just start. My glue gun is making weird noises. I don't know if you guys can hear that. It's complaining that I am using it too much. And then put that over the top again. Be very careful not to burn yourself, and again roll over the top to flatten out your glue. Okay, and it will stay hot for a few moments once you're done. Just give it a second to completely harden. And then, once you have that, you can just peel off the top. There we go. And now your picture is completely encased in glue gun. So, you now will have to cut around the shape to whatever shape you want your pin to be. I recommend leaving a little bit of an edge around the outside, just so you have a bit of a buffer between your paper and the outside world that wants to destroy your paper. Ears are tricky. There we go. And then once you have that cut around the entire outside, there we go. There is your pin. So if you want, what I have done on these ones is I just went around the outside edge with the side of the glue gun just to melt a tiny bit, just because I want to make sure that it's completely sealed in there. I don't want my glue gun falling, pulling apart or any of that. So I just gently went over the outside just to lightly melt a little bit on the edges. If having your fingers this close to a glue gun makes you nervous, please don't. I don't want you to burn yourselves. Be careful, please. Otherwise, if you like just the way it looks, just leave it as it is. It makes really no difference. This is just for my sake. So once this is cool, it cools very quickly, so it's now basically hardened. So we just turn it over and attach our safety pin to the back. So you just have to do a strip of glue along the back. I like to be generous with it just to make sure that my safety pin doesn't wiggle, and then you open end up. Obviously you want to be able to open your pin. Just press it in there. Be careful not to touch the hot glue with your fingertips. That's why I like to open it, so you can hold it from the top there and you don't get your fingers nearly as close to it. Hold it in place for a few seconds and it should harden around. Now again, because I want to make sure it's very secure in there, I just kind of go over the top with another layer just to keep it sealed in. And then once it completely hardens and cools, our pin will be ready. Oop, that is definitely not cool yet. Once the glue is part way cooled, you can always just do what I'm doing here and just put your finger in there and hold it flat to squish it down just a little bit. Again, don't do this when it's super hot. Please be careful. And then that is your completed pin, and it's ready to go on purse, backpack, lanyard, wherever you want something cute.